Hello everybody, if you're new to the channel, you join me in the middle of my £3,000 family estate challenge, where I'm trying to prove that today, parents need not go out and saddle themselves with monthly commitments on a crossover when there are plenty of estate cars you can buy for £3,000 which are far better and far more practical. This series began really when I drove a D5 Volvo V70 and I was blown away with just how good those cars are even today. And more recently we featured the beautiful Alfa Romeo 159 TBI, a car which both me and my wife fell in love with. But today's contender is this Mk1 Skoda Octavia VRS. Practical, spicy estate cars that you can buy today for half of that £3,000 budget. Heck, for £3,000 you could probably buy one of the best examples in the country, but how is it going to compare to the mighty V70 and the 159? Well, there's only one way to find out. Let's get into it. My name's Ben. Welcome to Dadcars. Welcome back to the channel, everybody. If you are a parent or plan on having kids in the not too distant future, or are a grandparent, please hit that subscribe button because I think you'll like this channel. So what exactly are we driving today? Well, this is a 2004 Mk1 Skoda Octavia VRS. Under the bonnet we have a 1.8 litre turbocharged petrol, an engine which will be familiar to any fans of Volkswagens or Audis from the noughties, which produces 180 horsepower from standard, 173 pound-feet of torque, and is mated to a 5-speed manual transmission. Now, I couldn't find exactly how much these cars weigh, but it's under 1,400 kilograms, which means it's at least 100 kilograms lighter than the lightest 159, the TBI that we reviewed. And this particular example sits on 180,000 miles, but you wouldn't know it by looking at it. It's obviously a car that's been enthusiast owned over the years. Oh, there's a nice E320 there. That's another car which I'm hoping to get on the channel very soon. Oh, and there's a Chrysler 300C estate as well. Oh God, look, surrounded by different options. I reckon you could get one of those for £3,000. Let's talk about the look, shall we? I think that the Mk1 definitely come of age. See, it tends to be what happens, doesn't it? When the new one comes out, suddenly, you know, the Mk1 started looking dated. And then when the next generation came out, you know, these looked really dated. But then after a certain amount of years, honestly, a lot of cars from the late 90s, early noughties, now just look, wow, the only word for it is I think they look damn cool. Doesn't this car look damn cool? Unbelievably narrow by today's standards, which is a real delight as well when you're driving it. And I think it's undeniable as well that the estate looks even better than the saloons. This car as well, you might have noticed, has been modified by its current owner, and for me personally, I'm not a massive fan of visual modifications. I am very much a OEM man myself, and the modifications to this car aren't just visual. This has had a stage 1 remap, which apparently could boost the horsepower an additional 30 up to 210, although that's not been confirmed on a dyno. It's also got coilovers and anti-roll bars, a Ram air kit, and a forged dump valve as well, which you might be able to just hear in the background. And performance is anything but slow, but we'll come more onto how this car drives later in the video. If you were interested in seeing a road test of this car when it was nearly standard, head over to my good friend James's channel, JM on Cars, because last year he reviewed this very car and it was much closer to standard at the time. Now, I'm spending an unhealthy amount of hours each day checking through the classifieds, looking for my £3,000 estate. And before I'm going to view any of those cars, I am running car vertical checks on them to make sure they've not been stolen, written off in the past, or had their mileage rolled back. And if you, like me, find yourself looking for a car on a tight budget, sub £3,000. You might be tempted to save yourself a little bit of money and think, oh look, it's not worth that much, there's no point in running a car vertical check on it. But as you can see from this example of a car vertical report here, you would be absolutely devastated, even if it was just £3,000 that you spent on this car, if for no other reason that when you come to sell it, you're not going to be able to get your £3,000 back, are you? So to make sure that your next car doesn't have a hidden past, make sure you always run a car vertical check on it. And if you use my promo code DADCARS, you'll save 20% off anytime you need to run a car vertical report. A massive thank you to Car Vertical for sponsoring this video. And if there's one thing I know about modern Skodas, it's that they are all TARDISes. Like every time I get into a Skoda taxi, which is every single time I get into a taxi, I am blown away by just how much rear legroom, how much space there is in the back of Skoda Superbs, Octavias, you know, modern ones. But let's now check out the rear practicality of the Mk1. Right, so I have set the driver's seat to my position. I have got short legs, long body, as I've said before, but I've got ample legroom there, and more crucially, headroom. Yes, even when I sit right back and I'm wearing a hat, it's not touching on the roofline. Also, you've got full leather back seats in here as well. And overall, the leather in here, considering this is a bit of a high mile hero, the interior, the leather has held up really, really well. Also, with this being a 2004, I reckon it does have Isofix tucked in down the bottom there as well. However, it doesn't have top tether points. So my choice of child seat would be an Isofix one, which has got a support leg. And of course, being an estate, the boot is huge at around 540 litres, making it notably bigger than a brand new Nissan Qashqai. And with the seats being split folding, you could move house, do tip runs, do anything in this remarkably small but practical family car. So while the Mk1 Octavia might not blow your mind in terms of rear practicality compared to the modern Skodas, it is still really, really impressive that a car that is in such a compact package as this, you know, this does genuinely have a lot more real world practicality in terms of internal space than a lot of brand new crossovers. But is it really possible to spend 1,500 quid on a spicy estate that is fun to drive? Well, let's find out, shall we? As it's just me in the car. Oh, the performance is ample. Yeah, this definitely feels like over 200 horsepower to me. And you get the additional drama from the dump valve as well. I'm surprised I didn't feel any torque steer earlier. Hang on, let's try and see if I can feel some. Yes, there's the torque steer. Obviously, as you'd expect from a front wheel drive car. The clutch is really nice and weighted, nice bite point. The gearbox is a little bit notchy, but come on, I mean, a car of this age, this many miles on it, still very enjoyable to use. But the steering is, it's very similar to the Mark IV Golf, obviously. Not the most precise thing, is you get a little bit of vagueness and wiggle just in the middle. Yeah, it's a notable difference in the steering compared to that 159 TBI that I recently drove. That was so delightful and nimble, but yeah, it's very light, not a ton of feel. It's not a highlight, definitely, but it never was with the Mark IV Golf either, was it? Let's test out the brakes. Yeah, brakes are fantastic actually. Doesn't feel like a heavy car when you're hustling it. The coilovers have definitely reduced the body roll on what you would expect, but the trade-off from that is the ride comfort. This for me, which is going to be, you know, a backup family car, yeah, with these coilovers, it's just too firm. I want a bit more comfort out of the car that we pick. So this definitely gets a tick in the fun department, which is important for me to be able to call something a proper dad car. But the estate that I buy will be driven by my wife just as frequently, so it has to get a thumbs up from my wife as well. And I'm sure there's loads of people that are thinking there's no way that mum's going to be happy of you buying an old Skoda estate. However, interestingly, of all the cars that my wife has ever owned, most recently she got an L405 Range Rover, before that it was a 3rd generation X5, she says that her favourite car that she's ever owned by far was her Mk1 Golf, which, as we know, is what a Mk1 Skoda Octavia is basically. And I love the fact that this car's owner has actually put in some cup holders from a Mk1 Golf down there. In fact, it was the Mk1 Golf that our first 2 children were brought home from the hospital when they were born in. But when you're thinking about a car purchase as a parent, transporting your children in the back, there is one inconvenient truth about most cars from the early noughties, and that is safety. Because around the late 90s, early noughties, that's when NCAP really became a big thing, and all manufacturers, their cars were exposed for just how safe or unsafe they are. However, that said, the Mk1 Octavia didn't actually do that bad. But it's worth pointing out, I believe from 2009, the Skoda Superb achieved a 5-star NCAP rating, and then Skoda have had a flawless record of 5-star NCAP ratings ever since then, so ever since 2009, which is good to know if you're looking at buying a newer Skoda.
Correction, with the lone exception being the Citigo, which achieved a poor vulnerable road users score. Personally, I'd rather be hit by a Citigo than a Kodiaq any day.
These seats are pretty comfortable and offer some genuine lateral support as well. I mean, overall in here, it's not fancy, is it? I mean, you've got obviously hard plastics in lots of places. You've got, squishy plastic on the dash. But the biggest takeaway I've already mentioned, but I just can't believe how well this interior has held up with the mileage. You know, honestly, if this car had half the amount of miles on the dash there, I would believe it. So there's undeniable German quality in here, isn't there? Yeah, this is wonderful. I need to say a massive thank you to Justin for bringing this car to me today to review. Justin is a dad himself. This is his cool dad car, and he's a subscriber of Dadcars and JM on Cars, but also Auto Alex, and he will be attending this year's Shedfest and exhibiting this very car in the Dadcars family zone, and he's bringing his son with him as well. So if you would like to come and see this car in the flesh, have a chat with its owner, why not bring your family as well? You know, that's my whole thing at car events, at Shedfest, at Petrolheadonism events, at the NEC Classic Motor Show. I do the Dadcars family zone and offer free activities for children to make it so you can bring the whole family to car events, so that your other half, even if they're not interested in cars, they can still enjoy themselves. And if you're worried about your kids kicking off and having a tantrum, well, look, that is what the Dadcars family zone is for. It's a pit stop for families. We're all in the same boat. So yeah, I'll put a link in the description below for all of the upcoming shows that I'm going to be doing the Dadcars family zone at. I occasionally get people grumbling in the comment section below on YouTube and on Instagram if I'm driving a high value performance dad car, like a Porsche or Ferrari or something like that, and I'm saying in the clip or the video, there's no excuse for boring. Get yourself an exciting dad car. Just because you've got kids doesn't matter. You can still make things work and make memories in exciting cars. And the grumbles, quite fairly, are people saying, oh well, look, not everyone's got tons of money to buy cars like that. Times are tough when you've got kids and things. And my reply to those comments is always the same. I say that there are exciting and cool dad cars for every budget. So I stand by my belief saying that there's no excuse for boring. Saying that you can't afford to buy an exciting dad car, that is just an excuse. You could buy one of these for sub £3,000 and it's genuinely fun to drive. It's genuinely practical. It looks really cool. And this is a car that you can take to car meets, and I guarantee you'll have a handful of people coming over to you talking to you about how cool these cars are, how their dad had one in the past, or how they used to have one. Yeah, I'm sure that like anything of this age, you need to check for corrosion. It can easily have rotten sills and all that sort of stuff. So it's well worth checking it out after you've done your car vertical check as well. The only reason we got rid of the Golf was because the cam belt went and destroyed the engine, and So if you are looking to get one of these, make sure it's had the cam belt done. I think it's every 60,000 miles from memory. But what's the verdict for me? Will I be looking now to buy a Mk1 Skoda Octavia VRS for my £3,000 estate challenge? I'm gonna go for something which is late noughties, because look, as I said earlier on about the safety and things like that, it isn't that bad, but in the late noughties, all manufacturers really raised their game in response to NCAP. And I want the car that I buy to really make a statement to everybody out there that look, you can go and buy something like this, £3,000, with no monthly commitments, not saddling yourself with finance payments or getting something on a PCP deal. And I think I'll be able to do that better with something that is just a little bit newer than this. If you are tempted to buy one of these and run it as a dad car, I say go for it. You know, my mother-in-law, she still has a Mark IV Golf, and it's got Isofix at the back. I just put a brand new, up to current standards, child seat in the back, and then my kids go off with her in that car from time to time. So while chances are a Mk1 VRS will not be the estate that I buy for my challenge, perhaps I need to have a look at some of the newer Skodas with their legendary rear legroom. Maybe I need to get some of those on the channel. If you've got this far in the video and you're not yet a subscriber, you might as well click that button now, hadn't you really? Because then you'll get to see what £3,000 estate we are reviewing next and what it is I end up buying. But in the meantime, look, check out these videos here on other family estates. Take care, bye bye.